Hello, and thank you for joining us on Women Have Needs Too. Women have needs too. Right now, I need to live my passion. Today, we're with Paulee Bowin. For as long as she can remember, she's been interested in art, writing, and creative arts. A ballet dancer from the age of 10, Paulee has held several unique jobs, including magician's assistant, personal shopper, and leg model. Paulee has had her 220 license for insurance for 23 years and is also currently a radio show host, a member of the Professional Association of Visual Arts, as well as a painter, writer, and illustrator. Paulee published her first children's book, The Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards, in 2018. Later, a Book of the Month selection by a Boca Raton magazine. She currently resides in Clearwater, Florida, and she's written other books as well, and one of them today we're going to talk about, It Is About You. I can't wait to get into that book. But, one of the things that, we're going to talk today about, and that is actually talked about in your book, is passion. Mm-hmm. And you say, people with passion will rule the world.
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Because passion and motivation is what drives us ahead. And any successful person is passionate about what they're doing, and they have to be motivated, of course, goes hand in hand.
It does. And what motivates one person may not motivate the other person. So, for instance, for somebody who is in business for themselves or has a large corporation, mm-hmm. money is usually the derivative
right.
of that, and that's the motivator, mm-hmm. because they've got a board of, investors that they have to keep happy. So, it's bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. But I think, well, for me, and I think for you, we're motivated by something different.
Right.
And it's about, you want me to say it, or are you going to say it?
Go ahead.
It's about helping people.
Yes.
Right? It's about making a difference in another person's life and doing what we can to help that person live their life with passion.
That's right.
I know that's the purpose of Women Have Needs Too, mm-hmm. is to help women live their passion. And I am just thrilled to have this book in my hands. And so let's talk about the title of this chapter is Write Your Own Fairy Tale. Talk about how do we write our own fairy tale? How do we do that?
Well, we first must think for ourselves, and we must recognize that the fairy tales we've been reading all along are full of holes, I guess, full of disillusionment. And when you write your own fairy tale, it means you take exactly who you are and exactly what you want to be, and you run with it instead of trying to be somebody else. Like, why would we try to be Cinderella, right? It's ridiculous. So, you have to be who you are. Stop comparing. That's in the book too. Stop comparing yourself to others, and forge your own path.
Forge your own path. Now, have you always lived your life with passion?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. How did you do that?
Started really early.
Yeah.
I was independent as a child, and didn't want help with things, and I would, even though my mom would try to help me, I'd say, no, I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
But she also instilled in me to do things myself by making me approach people when I didn't want to, and there's a story in the book about that, how, like Girl Scout candy, for instance, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
A lot of parents sell it for their little girl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's
no.
not teaching them much.
Oh, no, she made me do it myself. I had to ask people, among other things. There's another story in there about a readathon, but yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Did you always have a love for books?
Yes.
Because you've, I know you've been an artist since you were a little girl. Mm-hmm. Have you always written as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I would write long stories, and then I made up stories for Christmas, and I wanted to actually work for Hallmark doing greeting cards for a while.
Aww.
When I was little, I thought, hey, I could do the cards.
Well, now you can have your own greeting card business.
Maybe I will.
I think you should.
Yeah.
So, I think of you as the mermaid lady. I even refer to you, to my husband, as the mermaid lady. Let's talk about mermaids, because this book refers to mermaids. As a matter of fact, okay, hold on. there is a part in this book that says, "What kind of mermaid are you?" Now, I only knew, or I only thought there was one kind of mermaid. What the heck are you talking about?
Several.
I know. Well,
I like the shape-shifting idea. You know.
but how did you come up with all this stuff?
I researched mermaids because I love them so much. Of course, it started out with Hans Christian Andersen's adaptation of The Little Mermaid, the original, and of course the mermaid statue in Copenhagen, and there was a ballet based around that. And it's beautiful.
Oh.
So,
All right, so tell us about mermaids, and why do we need to learn about mermaids, and how does that affect our life? How is it going to change our life to understand the whole mermaid thing?
well, for me, I think of it as would a mermaid apologize for her very being, for her, you know?
No.
Exactly. She swims on, right?
Yeah, she swims on, and she's beautiful doing it, and she's pretty smart. The mermaids I've seen and known, I'm sitting next to one right now, are really smart. How is that? Are they all smart, or is that just one kind of mermaid?
That might just be one kind. No, I don't know. No, I think they're all smart, and I think that the potential is untapped is all it is. I think we all have the ability. We just need to find it in ourselves. You know, another thing in there is a mermaid doesn't change her character even while swimming amongst the sharks.
How does she get away with that?
You just stay true to your character instead of turning into the shark. Or, you know, you don't want
I
to...
love that.
Yeah.
Do they win over the shark? Does the shark become more like a mermaid?
If not, then the mermaid swims on and doesn't worry about what the shark does.
I love that. Paulee, you're so full of wisdom.
Thanks.
So, life has not always been mermaids and seals for you. You've had some sharks in your life.
Oh, yeah.
You
Quite
want
a few.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
All right. Where do you want to start?
I was going to ask you, where do you want to start?
Well, where do we want to start with that? That's a very good question. You've had to build up some resilience to the sharks,
Yes.
and you have swimmed on, swimmed on.
Swim on sounds
Swam
good.
on. Swim on sounds great. So being a mermaid doesn't put that wall up against those people, because those people are going to be there anyway.
Yep.
The secret is to keep swimming
Yes.
and to be true to yourself,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So there are things that you've done as a mermaid that haven't been necessarily healthy for you.
That's right. Yes.
And I'm going to call it out,
Okay.
because you gave me permission.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not
Good.
doing this. I just want you to know. If you ever come on my show, I'm not going to just blast you out of water. But you had some bout with anorexia before.
I did. When I was really young, I was still in grade school. So I had that.
In grade school? It started then?
Yep.
How in the heck did that happen in grade school?
I'm not sure. I think self-loathing, and in the book it talks about conflicts even early. Like bullying starts really early sometimes.
Okay, so that's what we were going to get to, the bullying. Okay, so you were a victim of bullying. I hate
Yes.
the word victim, but you were subjected to some bullying.
Yes.
And your retaliation was to become anorexic?
It's a control issue and an anger issue, and so when you can't do anything about the external, you take it out on yourself, and that's what I did. Took it out on myself.
And how long did that carry on?
Couple 3 years, and then I decided to work it out, and so I started slowly working it out, and went from there.
And you have an amazing positive attitude.
Thanks.
You do. You do. It's beautiful. You're just you have such inner peace and inner beauty, and the fact that this book teaches everyone who reads it to have that that self-value and self-worth, and to go out in the world and do what you're passionate about, and to not forget that value. You have some tips in here. Do you want to talk about them? Do I need to refer to the book, or do you have it on top of your head?
Oh, I would like to know what your favorite ones are.
Oh, gosh. All right, well, my favorite one, you know my favorite one, but I think there's work to be done before you get people with passion will rule the world. And I want it before I want to read this.
Okay.
Because it's actually right before you get into that chapter. I'm going to read this excerpt from this book. And I don't know the name of this chapter, but it says, don't look in the mirror for validation and support. Look inside yourself right now and see all the beauty that makes up who you are. Your love for others, your compassion, your sensitivity, all of those qualities are part of the rainbow that makes you who you are. Are you having trouble doing that? Don't feel bad. Lots of people do. Take a moment to list 5 good qualities you have. We all have qualities that make us beautiful to others. Knowing and being confident in what you have will transform your life, I promise. Knowing, I'm going to read that line again. Knowing and being confident in what you have will transform your life, I promise. The problem I see is that there's some people who don't know.
Right.
How do you get to that point? You were in grade school. You were 3 years victimizing yourself. But then, I mean, how do you transform and how do you get into that knowing? How do you get into that knowing?
Well, it takes a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's soul searching. It's looking in the mirror and recognizing what your piece of it is. Like, for instance, I was in a relationship in my 20s where I was beat up physically and verbally. And so the interesting thing about that is nobody deserves to get beat up at all.
That's right.
However, and I went to Battered Women's and went through a lot of counseling and soul searching. And the thing is, we have a piece in it. There's a piece of us that somehow seeks that out and that thrives on it somehow. And that's why you keep repeating the same mistakes. So until you can get out and not, right, you have to distance yourself from it. Like, don't date, don't go for any men or women, whichever,
Because you'll fall in the same trap if you do it right away.
Then you'll keep finding the same guy, just a different name, or the same relationship that's dysfunctional. And so you have to stop and figure out, what is it that makes me do this? And then you can stop becoming a victim. Because when you take some responsibility, then it changes everything. So that's the whole thing. Take responsibility.
Is it, did it stem from earlier abuse as a child? Or was it something that just happened?
It seems like no, I was getting picked on so young, like.
Because you were little?
Grade. Yeah, I was little.
I used to get picked on too because I was little. I'm not as little anymore, but.
That was terrible. I mean, I was really small, and then I was one of the best readers. Like if you're weird in any way,
yeah,
and then you add another little component to the weirdness, and
right.
I don't know. It's just a recipe for.
So when you went to Battered Women, did you have psychological help when you were there, or just counselors that were there that helped you get through this and put that stop sign up and say it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen anymore. That's the last time that's going to happen to me.
Yeah, I had my counselor. I saw her a couple times a week for a while till I could maneuver out of the deep depression, and again fell into the self-loathing and wanted to harm myself. Not suicide, but any eating disorder is,
you're hurting yourself.
It stems from wanting to hurting yourself,
right.
Angry, and so she helped me understand how I got to where I was, which is huge. Understood the dynamics of my parents, so we talked about the dynamic there, and I'm not blaming them, it's me. But with what I had to work with, and this is how this happened and why it happened, and don't do it again. And it's simple, but it's a process.
And it's self-love. It comes down to self-love, right?
Right.
Because if you love yourself enough, you won't let anyone else take that away from you.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, and you know, there's reference in Scripture. It says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." But if you don't love yourself in the appropriate way, you can't love anybody else the right way.
Wow, that's true. That's true. And you have, all right, so we're going to move on from that unless there's something else you'd like to say about it. Are there key points for somebody to get out of that type of situation if they're dealing with something like that themselves?
You can't fix that situation. You can't change anybody but yourself. That's the bottom line. You can only control yourself. And I had to learn that and keep learning it over and over and reminding myself. And then leave the situation and just take responsibility.
Oh, see, that's big because a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for their own situation. Whatever the situation is, there's a lot of people who don't want to take responsibility for it, whether there's, you know, zero money in their bank account or whether they're, you know, they've lost a job for the 15th time or they've lost a spouse or loved one, you know, 3 relationships in a row. Taking responsibility, it's not always the other person.
Not always. You always have a piece in it, and and it's ugly when you see what your piece of it is. It's not fun to look at it. But if you're committed, which you have to be committed, like figuring out how you got there is just part of it, and then being committed to fixing it is a whole nother ballgame.
I'm going to go back to this paragraph again, where it says, "Don't look in the mirror for validation and support."
Right.
You have, which book is it in that you have the reflection? Look at the reflection in the mirror.
Oh, that's Mermaid Logic coming up.
Mermaid Logic.
It's
okay.
on pre-sale, yeah.
It's on pre-sale. Okay, so it's mermaid. How can they go? How can they find it?
The Now Publishing website. And come to the party on December 18th in Dunedin.
Ah, yay! Okay, good. All right, so there is a graphic in there, and it says remind me how it says.
You are so much more than your reflection in the mirror.
You're so much more than the reflection in the mirror. Let's go into that.
Okay. So the little girl's looking in the mirror, and her reflection's a mermaid. So that kind of says it all. You're so much more than you think you are, because the mirror is not showing what's in here.
I love it. So it's not necessarily what's on the outside, it's what's inside. Well, what if somebody is not really a pretty person on the inside?
Then they need to fix that.
That's when they need to change. All right. Well, good.
And the thing is, too, you know, in the book was kind of, I don't know, a theme about don't let bad things that happen define you, and don't continue to be a victim. Because I've been victimized several times. More than several times, but that's not where I come from on a daily basis.
That's not who you are.
No, I'm not going around thinking I'm entitled just because this, and this happened to me.
Right.
I still have to.
You're here today to help other women and help other people see the brighter side of life. That's how I see you.
Yep.
That's how I see you. And I see you as that person who has these words of wisdom that you don't dwell on the past. You are living in the present and looking forward to the future.
I'm really trying, yes.
Yeah. Well, we all try. I mean, you know, we're not always, you know, this isn't always our best day, you know?
Right.
And we're hoping that tomorrow, damn it, it's going to be better.
That's right.
No, we're not living in a fairy tale world, even though you talk about creating your perfect fairy tale life. Let's talk about that.
Well, you're never too old to pursue a dream. Like, I didn't get to start really modeling until I was 50 a year ago.
Yeah.
And so that was great, because I was always told I was too short when I pursued it when I was 18.
Right.
And which was silly, but that's how it happened.
Right.
And so I ended up
So you're too short when you wanted to model when you were younger.
right.
And now, are we allowed to tell your age?
Yeah.
Oh, so now at the age of 51, this little girl over here is 51 years old, and you're doing more modeling now than you ever dreamed of doing when you were a kid, right?
Yeah. It's funny, like I model clothes for shops I work with for my artwork. I've done a runway show. I did that in March, right before everything got shut down. And so that was my first runway show ever. And I hadn't turned 51 yet. I was still 50, but I was the oldest one on the runway, so it was really cool. was.
But you look young. You don't look 51.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, and so we're going to talk a little bit about you. I mean, you're a writer. You've written how many books?
I think 4 now.
Four books. 2 of them. This one is out, and it's for sale now.
Yes.
It is about you.com, or is it about you book.com?
It is about you book.com.
It is about you book.com is where you can find this book. And let me tell you, it's an easy read, and you're going to read it in one night, and you're going to love it, and you're going to take notes, and you're going to think about it the next day, and you're going to wish you had it sooner, and you might want to buy some for Christmas. You also have The Girl Who Sings the Alphabet Backwards, adorable little book. This book is, which one's the workbook for the teenage?
That's Mermaid Logic coming up.
That's the one coming out. So Mermaid Logic is coming out. We don't have a copy of that here with us today, but you can go to mermaidlogicbook.com.
I think so. I know it's on the Now website, so that'd be the easiest way right now.
Now Publishing.
Now Publishing.
Now, N-O-W, nowpublishing.com, and look for
Mermaid Logic.
Mermaid Logic. Sorry, my brain is going several different ways because I want to talk about you personally for a minute, because you've given us so much good information for people to, go out and, get this book. Just get this book, read it, and internalize it, and don't ever forget it, because it's wonderful information, and I'm so happy that you brought this with you today. I'm just happy to have it here. You, from an early age, you are a dancer, ballerina.
Yes, I was a ballerina from, starting at age 10. It's my favorite thing in the whole world, ballet.
Why did you stop being a ballerina?
Because my parents said artists starve, and I had I had good grades, so I had.
Well, some of them do, but some of them don't.
Who knows where it would have went? I wish I could have pursued it, but
Yeah,
it's okay.
I bet you were a beautiful ballerina. So artist, and we didn't bring any of your stuff in here to show. But where can they go to look at some of your art?
Go on Facebook, Paulee Bowin. I have quite a few.
Paulee?
Brands.
Speak slowly for the audience. Paulee, P-A-U-L-E-E.
Right.
Brandt, B-R-A-N-D-T. Bowin, B-O-W-I-N. Paulee Brandt Bowin at Facebook.
Yeah.
On Facebook. And she has beautiful artwork. She illustrates her own books, and all of them. You just illustrate all your own books. And she's getting ready. This is the debut.
Yep.
She's getting ready to come out with a line of t-shirts.
And some fancier stuff.
And and the design. She's coming out with a design label, a designer label of her own. What are you going to call it? Do you know?
Been trying to think.
I'll help you with it.
Metro Mermaids. I don't know.
Metro Mermaids. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll let everybody know. We'll bring them back in.
Yeah.
We'll do a runway show.
I love it.
We could do it right here at the studio. How much fun would that be?
I'm in.
Well, so we're going to wrap it up. Is there one thing that you would like to leave with your audience today?
Yes. Don't mistake kindness for weakness or
Oh my gosh, it's my favorite line ever.
or stupidity.
Can you say it again?
Don't
Let's say it
mistake-
together.
don't
Don't mistake
mistake
kindness for weakness.
For weakness.
Because I have been known to be really nice.
Yep.
And but then people mistake my kindness for weakness, and my parents didn't raise me to be weak. They raised me to be we're similar in that way, because no, I can get it. I can do it myself. I remember one time I was taking this bicycle from the 2nd floor, and I know I'm going to wrap it up, Jim. My aunt says, Linda Sue, it is a steep staircase. I know you can do this. Let me help you. And I said, no, I can do it. So I get down to the 3rd step with this bicycle in my hand. All of a sudden, the bike takes off, and I'm taking off right with it, right down the 2 flights of stairs. So, we learn from being independent. We learn from our mistakes, and we learn from the independence. But you are such an amazing human being, and I am so happy to have you here with us today. And looking forward to your many new adventures, and your artistry is just as beautiful as you are internally and externally. And I just thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And, well, You're going to come on again. We're going to have you here again. So women have needs too. Right now, it's time for me to live my passion. So if you're not living your passion, call me, call Paulee. We'll help you. We'll walk you through the steps, okay? We'll take our time with you. Take care and have a great day, and we'll see you next time.